Welcome back to another episode of Life After the Show. Now, as always, we're talking about the New York Yankees, okay? It's been a really interesting offseason. I'll just preface it this way, okay? I think if you kind of like zoom out and you remember what Hal Steinbrenner said at the beginning of the offseason, he was talking about money. He was talking about in an ideal world, he would stay under the luxury tax. Now, I think the timing of that lines up pretty well with the fact that this CBA is going to expire after this next season, and that the front offices, MLB and the MLBPA, they're gonna go into this like we're gridlocked. We're not going anywhere. We're gonna get what we want to get, and so I think it kind of lines up with the fact that Hal might not want to put some money on the books that might end up hurting him for the years to come. And then you see the players' side of it. The players are reaching for the stars. They're trying to rob the banks. I mean, we got Kyle Tucker wanting 400 million. We got Bo Bichette wanting 300 million. And we've got Cody Bellinger apparently wanting 200 million plus. So all these players, I think, in regards to how like the market's gone in the past and how you compare them to the other players that have signed deals, they're kind of wanting the same deals as some players that might be a little bit more warranted of that money. And I think that's great. I mean, hey, go for whatever you want to go with, because if you have teams willing to pay that, who's going to turn it down as a player, right? None of us would ever try to talk these guys out of signing those deals, but maybe you would if you think it's going to hurt your team. So I think that the fact that some of these players are really, trying to get that brink truck backed up to their house and get all that money, and then the owners just haven't signed these big players, I think it's fun to watch. I think it comes at a very peculiar time, right? Because I think that players might realize that when these next CBAs come around, that they won't be able to get the amount of money in the future as they might be able to get in the present. Now, if you think about it, it's okay. I mean, right? Like I think I understand from the owner's side that they don't want to have to be giving out $700 million to some of these players. Shohei Ohtani might be the only player that we ever see actually be worth every single dollar and then more. Shohei might be underpaid in terms of how much money he's generated the Los Angeles Dodgers, but not every player to come is going to be able to bring the amount of eyes and attention that Shohei does. So I think that some of these owners realize that they've been jaded in the past by having players that they've given these massive deals to, and then the players underperform or they don't play or whatever it is that causes them to not feel like they want to give that money back out. So I see both sides, former player, and then I see that the owners don't want to do this. I get it, I really do. But we're going to be in a time coming up in this next CBA that we're going to see that the owners are going to get what they want. They really are. Whenever you put them all in a room, all the money that they have, it's going to heavily outweigh any bit amount of money that the players make. And basically, they're just going to be able to have them in a chokehold and really get what they want. Now, we're seeing Rob Manfred talk about wanting to do some kind of deadline for free agent signings. That's not going to be good for the players, but it's going to be something that I think that they loom over these players' heads. Hey, we're going to do a deadline if you don't give us this, or the players are going to have to give something to get what they want. I mean, it's going to get nasty. So I think the fact that the Yankees haven't made a big move right now, it's not because I don't think they want to. I think it's because they have somebody, aka Hal Steinbrenner, basically being like, hold up, we are not going to do that. And I don't know this from definitive reasons. I just have some speculation and just some reasons to believe that, Hal doesn't necessarily want to do something that might hurt him in the future. Now, the Cody Bellinger stuff is interesting to me, right? Because I've been all over him this offseason. I've been on the train that says, hey, we got to get this guy at all costs. And now I'm seeing that he wants money that's going to put him in the top 5 highest position players in Major League Baseball and right under the amount of money that Aaron Judge is being paid. And you guys know how I feel about Aaron. He's the best player in baseball in terms of position player wise. And the fact that some of these players are even close to the amount of money that Aaron's making or even above him, it bothers me a little bit, right? Because they're just not better than him. So I can see why the Yankees are kind of probably balking at the Cody Bellinger stuff. And then you start to see that some of the fans are saying some stuff, right? The fans are saying like, we don't want to pay him that. That's too much. If we're going to be paying him that much, then why wouldn't we just go out and get Kyle Tucker? I mean, I think it all makes sense, you know? Everybody's saying some reasonable stuff. And so the Kyle Tucker versus the Cody Bellinger stuff just got more interesting with the fact that now we're starting to see some numbers out in the public for what Cody wants. Now, we haven't fully seen anything that Kyle Tucker's been offered. I don't even know if he's been offered anything. So when we can compare and contrast those numbers together, it's gonna be interesting because you're seeing that the Blue Jays are probably the top target for Kyle Tucker. At least that's what Ken Rosenthal is saying. So I think if we see that the Blue Jays offer Tucker something, and God forbid they get him before the Yankees get Kyle Tucker or Cody Bellinger, then I mean you could see that the Yankees get desperate. You know, they could be in a situation to where they're watching teams within their division get stronger while they're kind of just sitting around waiting for one guy. And I think that the fact that Cody is so dug deep into what he wants has been why we saw some stuff resurface about how the Yankees are interested in Bo Bichette. And that comes right after us seeing that the Yankees are unlikely to get Bo Bichette. I mean, it came from Jack Curry. So, got to believe that someone within the Yankees front office told Jack to say that. And then, wow, Cody's kind of stalling him out. Let's engage with Bo and see where that goes. And so, it's very interesting to me because all of these deals comes with risk. You know, you see that a lot of Yankees fans are referencing players' contracts from the past, or Yankees fans are referencing players' contracts from the past about how that extra year is kind of like came to burn the Yankees. You know, I'm not going to say names because it's not necessary, but the contracts getting that extra year or two do come with risk. You know, you get the players at the end of their career, and a lot of reasons to believe that they might not be performing that way, but the teams have to give them that much if they want them to come. And so I don't know. I mean, I just I don't know. I I'm very torn. I'm very torn because with the Bo Bichette contract, the Kyle Tucker contract, the Cody Bellinger contract, I mean, we're seeing that the Yankees are linked to at least two of those guys with the Cody and Bo. And, you know, Bo's going to be the guy that obviously people want. People talk about his hitting, but people talk about his defense. And also, it's a contract that if Bo does secure $300 million, you could assume, right? Like you could assume that he might be it short to start the deal, but is he going to finish there? Is he going to slide over to second base and then ultimately make him the highest paid second baseman that's ever been in MLB? Because that contract's going to be more than Robinson Cano's if he gets 300 million. So I have to believe that the Yankees, out of all people, are taking that into account, right? I mean, the Yankees had Cano and they've got Jazz Chisholm right now. They had some issues at short last year with how the defensive capabilities of Anthony Volpe played out. So, I mean, you just got to think that they're weighing all the options and probably feel like they're up against the eight ball right now. You know, they could probably feel the weight of the world on their shoulders right now. They got to make a move. They want to make a move, but nothing is a move that they're willing to make right now. So I think that I just think that it's interesting. It really is. It's fascinating almost, you know? You got to believe that they want to do something so desperate that they're probably very frustrated right now. They probably want to tell all of us to shut up, you know? But we're going to be the ones at the front of the line kind of screaming to get something done. And then you just think that once they get something done, it's going to be like them being like, we got y'all, shut your mouths. And that's not going to cause anyone to be quiet because they're just going on another move, right? Cody Bellinger is not the last move that the Yankees can make this offseason. They've got to extend beyond that. They've got to do something to make that team better. Somehow, some way, I'm seeing that some of these online betting companies still have the Yankees as the favorites to win the division. They actually have them winning the division by like 3 or 4 games, which, hey, the betting companies know more than I do. But I don't know. We'll see. I think it's still going to be fascinating to see what those betting odds look like after some of these teams get the players that they do. It's really going to show, hey, do we actually think that your team got better? Do they get worse? And so that'll be a fun follow. I'd love to see where the standings go if the Blue Jays sign Kyle Tucker because we are seeing that they seem to be the favorites to get him. We're seeing that the Phillies are supposedly meeting with Bo Bichette today. And then the Yankees are kind of just sitting there twiddling their thumbs. I mean, I would assume Brian Cashman he's sending a lot of text messages, making a lot of phone calls, and probably desperately trying to make something happen that seems to not really be something that's going to happen. I mean, look, the offseason is the offseason, but at some point, the Yankees have to get something done. They know that. We know that. There's players out there that still make sense. We're going to see if the Yankees don't get the players that they want. Who are they going to pivot to? We see some stuff about Austin Hayes playing the outfield. We've seen some stuff about potentially a reunion from Harrison Bader. I mean, to think about getting Cody Bellinger, or some of these fans want Kyle Tucker, and then you get Austin Hayes or Harrison Bader. It's just like, no offense to anybody that I'm mentioning, but fans are not going to be super pleased with that. Those two guys that I just mentioned are great players as it is, but there's levels to how good some players are versus how good the other ones are. And when you have your eyes set on all the players that are at the top of the list and you don't get them, and you get the guys that kind of just feed in and funnel into the team after that, I mean, fans are going to be upset. I don't think that the fans should be upset with some of those signings if they were to get Cody, but if they don't get Cody and they get the other guys, they are for sure going to be upset. So we'll see. I mean, I think that I think right now it's interesting for everybody, right? You got to believe that Spencer Jones and Jason Dominguez are going about their offseason kind of wondering what their season's going to look like. I don't know if they're looking too far into it, but I mean, I can tell you from firsthand experience that when you are a player that plays a position, and then you see that the position that you play is a big free agent that the team is going to try to go out and get, you're kind of looking at it like, oh my God, like, what is my life going to look like? Am I going to be in Scranton? Am I going to be on the bench? Like, am I going to get traded? I mean, really, there's a lot of times where players are wondering what their future is going to look like. So you just hope that the team is being a little bit forthcoming in what the season's going to look like for some of these guys. Hopefully, maybe they're saying to these guys, which I highly doubt it, but maybe they're saying to some of these guys like, hey, if we get these guys, this is what we're going to do. They're not doing that, but I can hope that they are, because that's what I wish that they would have done with me. They didn't, but I don't know. It's going to be really interesting. Yankees have a lot of eyes on them right now. Yankees have to make a move, right? And it's got to be a good move. It can't be a panic move. It can't be a move to be like, gotcha, shut your mouths. It's got to be a move that makes sense, especially if we're talking about the fact that maybe there's some money constraints and the front office just can't go out and just throw a dart at the board and hope it hits. You got to make sure that the move that you're making might make your team better. You got a good team. Let's build around it. Let's get some depth in some areas that matter. Maybe add another starter. Maybe add to the back end of the bullpen. Maybe go out and get a left fielder. Maybe a backup first baseman. Maybe a third baseman that has more offensive potential than the one you've got. I don't know. Any of those would matter. There's a lot of things that they could do with not a lot of time left. Now, I'm not saying that some of these moves can't happen as the season starts or as spring training starts, but you would just hope that some of these guys have the ability to kind of be on the team before the season starts and to get adjusted, because coming over in the middle of a season, especially with a team like the New York Yankees, I mean, it's hard, when a single move happens, right? And the team has already started and a single move happens and you got to go sit up at the press conference and all eyes are on you. It's like, hey, if nothing crazy has happened for this team to get better, and then you're the player that comes in and the fans and the media and the team is like, hey, we really need this guy to perform, it makes baseball different, because most of the teams that these guys are going to be coming from aren't going to be like top of the line organizations. And what I mean by that is they're not the same as the Yankees. They're not the same as the Dodgers. They're not the same as the Cubs. Like there's some of these smaller orgs that don't get a lot of attention, and you're going to bring a player from a team that's probably not that good into the biggest market team, and then all the fans are starving for a star to be born. So you're going to have to be that star. So I'm just hoping that the Yankees can get some of this stuff done so the players can have time to accept that they've become a New York Yankee and don't have to just get thrown right into it and leave a spring training facility and go to another one. And it would just make the transition a little bit harder. I think that if they were to sign some of these top free agents, those guys are used to having all the eyes on them versus some of these younger guys or some of these other players coming from orgs that don't have all that attention. You get thrown into the fire, right? See what I'm saying here? Cody Bellinger, Kyle Tucker, Bo Bichette, those guys are used to everyone looking at them whenever they're standing in the room. So you get one of those guys won't feel as much pressure, even though the contract and the commitment that the team's going to have to give them will come with pressure. I think those guys deal with it a little bit differently. Those guys are high caliber players that know how to weather the storm. So I think that we could assume that some of those guys would be a really good addition for the Yankees. It's just a matter of, do the Yankees actually want to bend? Will they break? Will they do what they need to do to get these guys there? I think that the fans are kind of just waiting, right? I mean, aren't we all kind of getting sick and tired of saying the same thing and just hoping that the Yankees do something? I mean, you don't want to go into the season thinking like this is going to be a long season. I think that regardless of who the Yankees have on their team, whether it's a team full of all stars, like you know that baseball is a very hard sport and that the Yankees always have a few months in their season that seem to be really hard for the players to perform. And so you know it's going to be a long season, but you don't want to go into it thinking like we got no shot. I think that most of the time these Yankees fans actually believe that they can win the division. And I'm seeing a lot of teams in the AL East making it seem like the Yankees might be the third, fourth best team right now. Betting odds say differently, but fans are all saying, hey, this is a third or fourth place team. It's interesting. Interesting how the Yankees and the fans and the media, we don't always agree, right? But what the fans and what the media see is that we are agreeing is that the Yankees aren't really doing anything, right? The Yankees aren't doing anything to make the team really that much better. Now, I'm not discounting the fact that they are kind of like up against a sleeping giant in Scott Boras and Cody Bellinger wanting that much money, and then Cody Bellinger or not Cody Bellinger, Kyle Tucker maybe wants 400, Bo wants 300. I get it. I'm on the Yankee side right there. I understand. That's a lot of money. Okay. But I'm on the player's side too, where it's like, hey, ask for whatever you want, see if you can get it. If you can't get it, maybe you come down a little and maybe you get overpaid. Hey, it's good for the players. I'm a former player, so I'm going to kind of be on their side, but I'm not going to sit here and try to not act reasonable in regard to like understanding why the Yankees maybe haven't made these deals. So we'll continue to follow it as the offseason progresses. I would assume that maybe something's going to happen. Maybe someone within baseball is going to go out and nab one of these big players. If it's the Blue Jays, I would expect to see a potential panic move out of the Yankees following pretty shortly after. Got to go out and compete against the best team in the division because that's the Blue Jays in my eyes. And the Yankees right now, they might be the little brother for what the Blue Jays are doing. So just continue to hold optimism, guys. Hold the line. We'll see. Every day's passing, and I don't know what to think anymore. But what I do know right now is that this episode has been fun to talk about. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. And hey, many more to come. Go Yanks.